Have you ever watched an entire sport shift its attention toward one single player so fast that even the organizations running the game had no choice but to respond? Because that is exactly what just happened, and the shock waves are still vibrating through every locker room, every boardroom, and every grandstand in the professional tennis circuit. We are witnessing a seismic shift in the landscape of the WTA, a moment where the traditional hierarchy hasn't just been challenged, it has been completely bypassed by a force of nature from the Philippines. The news that has set the sports world on fire today is official, it is historic, and it is frankly unprecedented in the modern era of the sport. The Women's Tennis Association, in a move that has left veteran analysts speechless and fans in a state of absolute euphoria, has officially made Alex Eala a wild card seed in the main draw of the French Open at Roland Garros. Now, stop for a second and let the weight of that sentence sink in. We aren't just talking about a wild card entry. We aren't talking about a young player getting a polite invitation to participate in the qualifying rounds or a local favorite getting a spot in the opening bracket. We are talking about a wild card seed. This is a distinction so rare and a gesture so significant that it effectively rewrites the rulebook on how Grand Slam tournaments recognize emerging greatness. The tennis world is absolutely stunned. Not just the fans who have been following her meteoric rise, not just the analysts who crunch the numbers, and not just the commentators sitting behind their desks trying to make sense of what they are seeing. Everyone, every single person connected to this sport is talking about this decision right now. And once you understand the full story behind it, once you see the data, the cultural impact, and the sheer level of performance she has put on display over the last 12 months, you will realize this moment was not a surprise at all. It was inevitable. It was the only logical conclusion to a narrative that has been building with the intensity of a tidal wave. Alex Eala has not just been playing tennis this season. She has been reshaping what tennis looks like in the modern era. She has been proving that the old guard and the established systems of ranking and progression are sometimes too slow to keep up with genuine, world-altering talent. The WTA, the directors at Roland Garros, and the entire establishment of women's tennis have finally made it official. They have acknowledged that the spotlight is no longer waiting for Alex Eala. It is following her. This decision is a white flag from the traditionalists, admitting that her presence in the main draw is not a gift to her, but a necessity for the tournament itself. Without her, the story of the 2026 French Open would be incomplete. With her, especially as a seeded wild card, the tournament becomes the most anticipated sporting event of the year. The foundation for this moment was being built match by match, tournament by tournament, and crowd by crowd. It is a story of economic power, cultural representation, and a level of athletic dominance that has forced the hand of the most prestigious organizations in the world. So, let's break down exactly how we got here, why this decision makes complete sense from a business and sporting perspective, and what it means for the future of this sport as Alex Eala prepares to step onto the hallowed clay of Paris as a recognized titan of the game. To truly grasp the magnitude of why the WTA and the French Open organizers felt compelled to take this extraordinary step, you have to go back and look at the full picture. You have to look at the scale of what Alex Eala has done in such a short period of time, because it is unlike anything we have seen since the early days of the Williams sisters or the sudden arrival of Maria Sharapova. Think back to the start of this year, to the Australian Open in Melbourne. That was the first real indication that something had fundamentally changed in the ecosystem of the tour. Long before the sun had even fully risen over Melbourne Park, fans were arriving in droves. They weren't just showing up for the night sessions or the established legends on Rod Laver Arena. They were sprinting to the outer courts, lining up before the gates even opened, just to grab a seat for her matches. These weren't just casual observers. These were devotees. Videos of her practice sessions went viral across every major platform, garnering millions of views within hours. Casual viewers who had never watched a single tennis match in their entire lives, people who didn't know a deuce from a double fault, were suddenly glued to their screens because of one name, Alex Eala. This was the first sign of the Eala effect. Tournament organizers noticed the shift immediately. The atmosphere surrounding her matches was unlike anything else happening at that event. It wasn't just the noise, it was the demographics. Younger fans, a group that tennis has struggled to capture in recent decades, were connected with her energy in a way that felt organic and genuine. Asian tennis supporters rallied behind her in numbers that were impossible to ignore, signaling that a massive, untapped market was finally finding its champion. This was not manufactured hype. This was not a PR campaign. This was a player connecting with an audience that the sport of tennis had never truly reached before. But that was just the beginning. The Australian Open was a spark, but Miami was the explosion. The Miami Open changed absolutely everything for Alex Eala and for the WTA's perception of her value. Her run in Miami was a moment the tennis world truly woke up to the reality that she was no longer a prospect. She was not just competing. She was not just making noise as a young rising talent with potential. She was dominating the entire conversation of the tournament. She was filling stadiums to capacity, regardless of who she was playing or what court she was assigned to. She was making experienced analysts completely rethink everything they believed about the next generation of women's tennis. And then she did the unthinkable. She did the one thing that silenced every remaining doubt and forced the skeptics to look her in the eye. She beat Coco Gauff. She stepped onto that court against a Grand Slam champion, one of the most recognized and celebrated players on the entire WTA tour. And she didn't just compete, she won. That victory did not just earn her respect. It sent a message to every player, every coach, every tournament director, and every fan watching around the world. This young woman is not here to simply participate. She is not here to gain experience or to be happy with a second-round exit. She is here to compete at the very highest level, and she is capable of beating anyone, anywhere, at any time. The numbers from that Miami run told the rest of the story in a way that was impossible to dispute. And this is where the business of tennis meets the sport. During her run at Miami, daily revenue from ticket sales and media international streams was ranging between $500,000 to $1 million per day, specifically attributed to her match windows. The stands were completely packed from the first point to the last, and the energy inside those courts was electric in a way that longtime observers said felt completely different from anything they had experienced before. Ticket prices on the secondary market were soaring to levels that caught even the most seasoned professionals off guard. People were paying premium prices just to be in the same building as her. The international interest was so high, in Miami, being such a cultural melting pot, provided the perfect stage for her global appeal to manifest. But the true testament to her power came when she was finally eliminated in the round of 16. The impact was immediate, and it was devastating for the tournament's bottom line. Revenue dropped to around $100,000 per day almost overnight. The crowds thinned. The energy disappeared. The buzz that had defined the first week of the entire tournament simply vanished. That is not a minor dip. That is not a correction. That is what happens when one player is carrying an entire tournament on her shoulders and then walks out the door. Roland Garros was watching all of this very carefully. They saw the revenue spikes. They saw the social media engagement, and they saw the sheer quality of her tennis. French Open director Amélie Mauresmo, a legend in her own right, went on live television and did something that almost never happens in professional tennis at this level. She personally and publicly welcomed Alex Eala into the French Open. This wasn't a brief official statement hidden in a press release. This wasn't a small, polite mention during a generic press conference. Mauresmo went on live air and acknowledged Eala fully. She confirmed that she had personally made sure Eala felt comfortable and valued before the tournament even began. She openly stated that the organization is completely aware of the enormous number of people who will travel to Roland Garros specifically to watch her compete. This is a level of transparency and hospitality that is usually reserved for the likes of Nadal or Federer. Mauresmo and her team have designed the scheduling deliberately and thoughtfully around Eala's matches because they know fans are flying in from Philippines. They know supporters are traveling from across Asia, from every corner of the globe, booking flights and hotels and planning entire trips around the opportunity to watch this young woman play on the red clay of Paris. Roland Garros wants every single one of those fans to feel that the journey was worth it. That is not routine tournament management. That is a Grand Slam organization saying clearly and publicly that Alex Eala matters, that her fans matter, and that they are ready to deliver a platform that matches her stature. When we talk about Alex Eala's game, we have to move past the hype and look at the technical reality of why she is up there with the best in the world. It's not just about the crowds or the ticket sales. It's about what happens between the lines. Amelie Mauresmo herself has pointed out the variety in Eala's game, the power, the movement, and the sheer physical strength she brings to the court. On clay, these attributes are magnified. Clay is a surface that demands patience, but it also rewards those who can dictate play with heavy shots and intelligent point construction. Eala has shown a maturity in her shot selection that belies her age. She isn't just hitting the ball hard. She is moving her opponents, using the angles, and demonstrating a tactical awareness that usually takes years to develop on the professional tour. The decision by the WTA to grant her a wild card seed is a formal recognition of this elite skill set. It is a declaration that the governing body of women's tennis stand behind her, acknowledging that she belongs among the top competitors at one of the 4 most prestigious tournaments in the world. And the support isn't just coming from the officials. It is coming from the very pinnacle of the sport's history. Novak Djokovic, a man who has redefined excellence in mental toughness, has reportedly been deeply impressed by Eala's mentality. Djokovic knows what it takes to carry the hopes of a nation. He knows the discipline required to block out the noise and focus on the work. When someone with Djokovic's reputation speaks positively about a young player's commitment, the entire world pays attention. He sees the greatness in her because he recognizes the same fire that has driven his own career. Similarly, Maria Sharapova, who understands the transition from tennis champion to global cultural icon better than anyone, has seen something extraordinarily special in Eala. Sharapova knows that being a star is about more than just winning matches. It's about a presence, a way of carrying oneself that transcends the sport. Alex Eala is becoming a symbol of an entire generation, a representative of the Philippines who is showing the world that geography is not a barrier to greatness. Established players on the tour are feeling this shift, too. You can sense it in the locker rooms and the pre-tournament interviews. The spotlight is moving. The energy is moving. The attention of fans, sponsors, and organizers is gravitating toward her with a force that is becoming impossible to resist. This creates a fascinating dynamic heading into Roland Garros. As a wild card seed, Eala is no longer the underdog trying to sneak into the main draw. She is a marked woman. She is a player that everyone is watching, everyone is studying, and everyone is secretly hoping to avoid in the early rounds. She carries with her support of legends, the expectations of millions, and the weight of a nation's dreams. The clay courts of Paris are waiting for her, and the stage is set for something historic. If her performances in Miami and the Australian Open were the prologue, the 2026 French Open is the main chapter. She isn't just entering a tournament. She is entering her era. Every practice session, every warm-up, and every walk onto the court is now a documented event. The world is watching to see if she can maintain the power, the variety, and the mental strength that got her here. If she can keep that level of play, we are not just going to see a match. We are going to see a transformation of the game. The road to this moment has been paved with relentless commitment. We often talk about the overnight success of young athletes, but with Alex Eala, that narrative couldn't be further from the truth. Every time she steps onto the court, you are seeing the result of thousands of hours of unseen labor. You are seeing the discipline that Novak Djokovic praised. You are seeing the strategic development that has allowed her to transition from a dominant junior player to a legitimate threat on the WTA Tour. The decision to award her a wild card seat at Roland Garros is a validation of that journey. It tells every young player in the Philippines, across Asia, and around the world that the path to the top is open if you have the talent and the work ethic to claim it. But let's look closer at the wild card seed designation itself, because this is the part that has truly shocked the tennis establishment. Typically, a wild card is given to a player who doesn't have the ranking to get into the draw, but has a compelling reason to be there. Perhaps they are a former champion returning from injury or a rising local star. But to give a wild card and then see that player, that is a power move by the WTA. It effectively bypasses the traditional point system to say, we know where she actually belongs. It protects the other top seeds from facing her in the very first round, which is a testament to how dangerous they think she is. It's a move that prioritizes the integrity of the competitive bracket by acknowledging that Alex Eala is, in fact, one of the best players in the world right now, regardless of what the rolling 12-month point total says. The economic implications for the French Open cannot be overstated either. We saw what happened in Miami when the revenue plummeted after her exit Roland Garros is a much larger machine, but it is not immune to the laws of supply and demand. By seeding her, the tournament ensures she has a smoother path into the later rounds, which keeps the Eala effect alive for as long as possible. This is smart business. It ensures that the global audience remains engaged, that the television ratings stay high, and that the cultural conversation remains centered on the most exciting story in the sport. They have seen the fans booking flights from Manila to Paris. They have seen the hotel reservations peeking around her match dates. They are not just hosting a tennis tournament. They are hosting a global event, and Alex Eala is the headliner. Her movement on the court is another factor that has everyone talking. Clay is the ultimate test of a player's physical and technical foundation. You cannot fake it on clay. You have to be able to slide, you have to have the core strength to change direction, and you have to have the stamina to endure long, grueling rallies. Eala's training at the Nadal Academy has clearly paid dividends here. She has a clay court IQ that is incredibly rare for a player of her age. She understands how to use the surface to her advantage, how to hit behind her opponents, and how to stay composed when the points get long. When you combine that technical proficiency with the raw power she showed in Miami, you have a player who is a nightmare to play against on the red dirt. But beyond the sets and the stats, there is the cultural weight. Alex Eala is not just playing for herself. She is the face of Filipino tennis, a sport that has long looked for a global icon to call its own. Every time she wins, she isn't just climbing the rankings. She is inspiring a nation. The pride and the passion of the Filipino fans are legendary, and they have found in Eala a champion who reflects their own resilience and spirit. This connection is what makes her more than just an athlete. It's what makes her, as Sharapova noted, a cultural icon in the making. She is transcending the sport. She is becoming a symbol of what is possible when talent is met with opportunity and an unshakable will to succeed. As we look toward the opening rounds of the French Open, the questions are swirling. Can she handle the pressure of being a seeded wild card? Can she live up to the public endorsements of legends like Djokovic and Mauresmo? Can she replicate the magic of Miami on the grandest clay stage in the world? The pressure is immense. But if we have learned anything about Alex Eala over the last year, it's that she thrives under the lights. She doesn't shy away from the big moments. She leans into them. She doesn't just play the opponent across the net. She plays the occasion. And the occasion of the 2026 French Open is shaping up to be the defining moment of her young career. The tennis world is right to be stunned, but it should also be excited. We are entering a new era. The WTA has made a bold statement. Roland Garros has laid out the red carpet, and the fans are ready. The establishment has realized that you cannot hold back a force like this. You have to embrace it. You have to give the stage it deserves, and watch as history is written in real time. Alex Eala is no longer the future of tennis. She is the present. And as she prepares to step onto the court in Paris, she does so knowing that she has already changed the game forever. So, here's exactly where things stand right now as the tension builds in the lead-up to the first serve at Roland Garros. Alex Eala is walking into the 2026 French Open as a wild card seed, a status that marks her as one of the most significant and dangerous players in the entire world. She is not entering through the side door. She is not fighting through qualifying rounds, exhausted before the main event even begins. She is arriving as a recognized elite, someone the tournament has personally welcomed and strategically planned around. She carries the hopes of the Philippines, the respect of the greatest legends the sport has ever known, and the eyes of a global audience that is hungry for greatness. The story of this French Open is already being written, and she is the protagonist. Whether she wins the whole thing or simply continues her streak of giant killing, the impact of her presence is already a victory for the sport. It's a victory for representation, a victory for the fans, and a victory for the idea that talent will always find a way to the top. The clay of Paris is notoriously unforgiving, but it also has a way of immortalizing those who can master it. If everything that happened at Miami and the Australian Open taught us anything at all, it is this. When Alex Eala steps onto a court, something historic always feels possible. You can feel it in the air, you can see it in the ticket sales, and you can hear it in the way the commentators speak her name. Can she deliver the defining moment that Roland Garros and the entire tennis world is hoping for? Can she go deeper than anyone expects and shock the sport on the grandest clay stage on the planet? The beauty of tennis is that, eventually, the talking has to stop and the playing has to begin. The seeds have been set, the wild card have been issued, and the world is waiting. 2026 has already been a year of surprises, but the biggest one might still be yet to come. I want to hear from you on this because this decision by the WTA has everyone divided. Is it fair to the other players to see the wild card, or is it the most brilliant move the tour has made in years to capitalize on a once-in-a-generation talent? Do you think Alex Eala has what it takes to actually win Roland Garros this year, or is the pressure of being a wild card seed going to be too much to handle? The comments section is open, and I'll be jumping in to see what you think about this historic shift in women's tennis. If you want to stay updated on every match, every breakthrough, and every historic moment of Alex Eala's journey through Paris, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be covering every angle of the 2026 French Open as it unfolds. This is a moment in sports history you do not want to miss. Is 2026 the year Alex Eala writes her name into French Open history forever? We are about to find out. Thank you for watching and stay tuned as we prepare for the most anticipated Roland Garros in recent memory. The world is watching, the clay is ready, and Alex Eala is here to stay.